Hey everyone, welcome back to Shattering Ceilings. It's Lauren.
And Megan. And today we have an awesome fucking interview for you guys. Her name's Amanda Nelson, and she is the creator of the 60 Days Away journal.
What's up, Amanda?
Hi. Hey guys, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Of course. I know this is going to be a fun one. So we decided we're just going to jump right into it, right? So you've been fun to watch on social media, but we only know a snippet of your story. So if you could just tell us a little about your story and who you are.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the social media content. It's good to hear because sometimes, we get in our heads about like how we're showing up and how we look. But I'm a founder of the wellness brand 60 Days Away based here in Austin, Texas. And that is my main focus right now is helping people. Like, how can I inspire as many people as I possibly fucking can and do it in a way that feels really authentic to me and do it in a way that others can speak on as well. And so a little bit of my story, I haven't always been doing this. I was working with one-on-one clients beforehand and kind of ran into the issue of everybody had these like bullshit limiting beliefs. And I was like, why? Like, I'm giving you all of the information. I'm giving you exactly what you need to do and you still don't believe in yourself. So there's something bigger here that I was like, well, let me try to help. So I was talking to my husband and he was like, you should create a journal. Like, that's really helped you. And I was like, I'm not creating a journal. And then I was like, what a horrible idea. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, you could be onto something. I think you're right. And so I took about 7 to 8 months and worked on prototyping and ended up self-publishing my journal. And that was the first product I have. And now I have a wellness brand. And I really just want to disrupt the wellness industry in a way that felt good to me. But my mission is I want to inspire as many people as I can to regain their independence and regain their freedom and just do whatever the fuck they want to do. And the first step to doing that is like goal setting and creating your reality by mindset shifts. And so that's what I do in a nutshell.
I love
that so much.
Everything you said.
Yeah, thank you. That's literally what we're trying to do. Like, our podcast is called Shattering Ceilings because we're trying to disrupt the fucking industry.
Not trying,
we are
disrupting it.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
So what did you do before you started wellness coaching?
I have done everything. I wore all of the hats. So I was in the large scale event industry. I was producing events for like 50 to 60,000 people. I was in retail. I had a clothing boutique. I was in the travel space. I was doing like travel influencing early on. God, I've evolved. There have been like so many versions of Amanda. And I think that that's really important because you have to be constantly open to opportunities. And I think this is something that the previous generation didn't have access to is you have to do this one thing forever. And I'm like, well, if you're open constantly to opportunities, something could fall in your lap and you just run with it. And that's kind of been the theme since I started working at 15 years old. It's like, all right, well, I don't like this. Let's try something else. I don't like working at KFC Long John Silver's. Let's try working at, the Gold's Gym or something, right? I have had a lot of jobs and I'm like, I commend you for anybody who has had a lot of jobs because you are gaining different types of, wisdom and information. It builds character and it's good, especially if you work for yourself. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I love that because sometimes I feel like people are afraid, I definitely me at times of appearing like I'm going from one thing to the next. And you know what I mean? Like
we were just talking about this the other day, like, because both of us have done that. We've pivoted, if you will, I mean, consistently for our entire careers.
That's the only constant, right?
Nuts, or that we have no like clout or experience because we're constantly hopping from one thing to another. But there seems to be this through line of like you learn and you gain skills in everything that you do. So it doesn't matter how many times you change your job, especially if you're taking something with you. I had a question and it literally just lost my mind.
Well, to like kind of go off of what you were just saying is I think we're probably our own worst critics because I have been in that position before where I'm like, what are people going to think of me? Like, oh, maybe she failed and now she's trying something else. And God, she used to be this and now she's this and she wants to be an influencer and now she wants to do, all of these things. That was my story that I told myself in like 2019, 2020.
Okay.
I can't pivot again. What the hell will people think of me? My reputation will be. And then I started journaling. I started working on myself, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody, who cares? Like, I am my own worst critic. You can't think anything about me that I haven't already thought, you know?
So that's such a good point.
Yeah. So it's like, it's all just these things we tell ourselves, and it has no merit, no meaning in our lives. So like, pivot as much as you want. Who cares?
Right. Yeah. It's so crazy. It's like, we have phenomena that happen, right? Like you decide to change jobs. You don't like where you're at. You stub your fucking toe. And then we create these crazy stories around it and then assume that everybody else is thinking the same stuff. And it dictates how we move through life. And I mean, I'm always, and Lauren knows, like, I'm so scared to post on social media, or I do. And then I'm like, oh, why did I do that? But no one else cares but me. Right. I feel like so many of us are like that and don't even realize it, you know? And like you said before, we have this access to the ability to pivot now. So like for somebody who maybe is thinking about pivoting, or maybe they just started a new business and they're getting caught up, like, what would you say to them to help them get over that self-limiting of belief of like, this is going to ruin my reputation, or, you know, people are going to think X, Y, Z?
Yeah, I would have two main pieces of advice. One is stay in your lane, not meaning like stay so hyper focused that you're not open to other opportunities, but mind your own business and worry about yourself. Because when you are focused on yourself and the goals that you have to achieve every single day, you're not worried about what other people say, because you don't have the capacity to be able to mentally handle that anymore, right? So when you're focused on your own shit and you mind your own business, it sounds so simple, right? But it is very difficult, as you guys can probably attest to. Then you're not worried about that external validation and the external, just like, what are they going to say, and the constant whatever. It's a non-issue. It doesn't happen. And then the second thing is, let's be as realistic as possible with your surroundings and what you can change, and also realizing that this is not going to happen overnight. And so you have these big audacious goals of pivoting and doing something that's a complete 180 from what you're used to doing now. Right. How can you slowly and small increments change your environment and your surroundings to catch up with your mindset? So that's something that I don't feel like is really ever talked about. And it's such a like afterthought of, what are these little things that you can do, shifting, you know, the kind of person, how do you want to show up, and do that little changes in your house, in your attire, in the people you surround yourself with, in the music you listen to, in the podcast that you're digesting, right? All of these little things add up. And it's so important when you're pivoting, because like your mind has to catch up with your body has to catch up with your mind, and your environment is a huge aspect and part of that.
I love that. We love James Clear. Have you ever read Atomic Habits?
Yeah, I listened to it actually.
Okay, same. It reminds me a lot of that. Like, you create these tiny little micro habits and think from the perspective of like, you know, if you're trying to improve your health, like what would a healthy person, like how would they make this decision, or, you know, move from this point? And that's something that you've practiced and it's worked for you?
Totally. Yeah. It's like this whole be delusional thing. Like you're just tricking your subconscious at the end of the day. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it be delusional. You can call it main character energy, lucky girl syndrome. I don't care what you call it, but it's you're tricking your subconscious to think that that's your current reality, even if it's not.
Right.
It's so funny. I feel like you were in our heads like the past few days, because you're saying words that we've been throwing around now for the past, like, again, week. So it's pretty cool to hear you, you know.
We're on the same wavelength. Yeah.
Yeah, for real. So when did you start that pivot from one-on-one coaching to creating the journal? Was it around like 2019, 2020?
No, I started really journaling in like 2018, 2019.
Okay.
I started to pivot in late 2020 is when I started to toy around with the journal idea.
Wow.
Yeah. And it took about 7 months for the whole process to come to sort of this culmination point to where I felt good about launching it. And then I launched the brand on December 1st of 2021.
Oh, wow.
So this is like pretty new.
Yeah. I was going to say last year, but then I'm like, no, that's just last month. It's been a year and a month. Yeah.
That's so
That's
cool.
Crazy.
That is.
So for anyone who's like new, right? Like, you have had a lot of success building a social business like online. For somebody who is new there, because we focus a lot on like people that are in the beginning of their business because we're doing things very differently and, you know, teach to who you were. For somebody that's newly building a business online, what advice would you get them in starting to like shift their content to, you know, contain stuff about what they're selling and where they're going?
Yeah. Know that you will have people unfollow you. Know that followers will not resonate with what that new thing is. And like being okay with that. That was like really detrimental for me because I started, this is also a second tip, build your community before you start selling your product or your service or whatever it is that you're selling. Build your community first. Figure out what they like. Figure out how you can support them, how you can help them, like whatever your mission is, build that community first. I started to post videos on TikTok and I was talking about Texas travel. That was my thing. I was getting paid to travel all over Texas in the middle of a pandemic, which was very, I mean, you had half of the people who hated me. How dare you travel? And then half of the people are like, we like this. We're just sitting at home. We love watching you. So it was very, it was weird. But my page grew to like 500,000 followers on TikTok because I was consistently talking about one thing. One thing, consistency.
Right.
So do that. And then when I changed and I pivoted, like these people who follow me for Texas travel were not interested in mindset, were not interested in wellness. They were like, who the fuck is this bitch? We gotta go. So I mean, the unfollowing at the rapid rate to where I was losing like thousands of followers a day. Oh, wow. That's something where if you think about it, obviously that's going to happen, but I was not prepared for that whatsoever. So then you have this, oh my God, my identity is wrapped up in this more than I want it to be because this is affecting me. And that is not okay. And so what I would tell to people is don't feel like you have to pigeonhole yourself into one niche. Do a million different things because you are the niche. The fact that you are like the fact that I like the Buffalo Bills and like you were thinking of me during the Buffalo Bills game. But I own a wellness brand. Why would you do that? It's because I just talk about shit that I do and I like. So that if I do pivot again, who knows if I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. But if I do, you guys this is still Amanda. You know, we know her. So don't consistently just post like things that you think you're supposed to or performative shit. Just be yourself. And then the consistency thing is huge too. So I would say build your community for like, if you can, like a solid 6 months to a year before you even launch anything, because then you're going to be like, oh my God, nobody can find me and nobody knows I'm even selling anything. So
yeah. That's such a good point though, because you hear people all the time talk about like, find your niche. And like you said, it's such a good point because then you're pigeonholed into that one thing. If that's all you're talking about all the time, or that's what you're known for. And that doesn't really, go well if you are going to pivot or do a couple different things.
Right. It's like shocking.
Yeah. They're like, where did this come from? It came out of left field,
Yeah.
Right. So guys, if you're listening to this, 2 really important things. Do not let other people's opinions stop you from doing stuff, right? Like let all that shit go and just focus on your goals. And 2, make yourself the brand. Don't make it your products. Don't make it the courses. Like talk about yourself, let people into your life, and then they will be like, you will be the connection, not, their desire to have wellness in their life or something like that.
And also if I can add something, if you are just starting, maybe you're like 6 months in and you're like, God, this still doesn't really feel aligned. It's okay to take a break and realign and reframe. Like I'm actually about to do that and just take some time off of social media. I need to reframe my messaging. And that has been so clear for me for a while. And I need to reframe and I need to realign because it's not sitting like I want it to. That's okay. So just know that too. If you're especially early stages, especially like I've just been doing for 3 months or 3 weeks, constantly reiterate that is okay. You are not failing. You are not taking a step back. You're evolving. And that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, so good.
That's such great advice. Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit because you kind of mentioned, like that feeling when you started to lose like, your followers on TikTok and everything. Can you talk a little bit about the ups and downs of your journey? And again, it doesn't have to just be from the journal, but throughout because you have done a lot of different things and have seen success in other areas too. Where did you get caught up and how did you move through it?
Oh man, I got caught up a lot in the loss of followers. I think that was just a blow to my ego, like that I wasn't expecting. Some other things, let's see, what else kind of tripped me up? Yeah, I mean, I have this whole, I just plan. I'm very type A. I want to plan shit. And when things don't go according to plan, like you have to like juck and dive and move and flow and be fluid with it. Again, easier said than done. But my philosophy has always sort of been like burn the ships. Like don't have a backup plan. Throw everything you have into what you're doing now. Which I know is really aggressive for a lot of people, but that's just what's worked for me. And so, for example, I was supposed to launch the journals on Amazon at the beginning of my journey, and Amazon ended up losing like half of the shipment. So that was a complete nightmare because I was not prepared for that. I didn't have a backup plan. So I really it was everything. Like we're getting ready to launch. It's this new brand. It's just nobody knows about it yet. I was very secretive. And then boom, this roadblock comes and happens, and you're gonna have obstacles. That was not, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it was great. I just turned on a self-help podcast and like went about my life. That fucked me up for a while because that was like, I put everything into it, right? I had to move.
Right.
So I ended up just, I really relied and leaned on like my husband and my friends and my family. And I was like, can you help me brainstorm? What do you got for me? Because I can't do it right now. So asking for help, that's huge. I ended up just fulfilling them, at my own house for a while, which was bananas. But, I created a website, I got on Shopify, did the whole thing, and it's fine. But yeah, asking for help is huge. Asking for help is major. And I think there's a lot of like shame still around that in our modern culture. But like being vulnerable is terrifying. It is scary. It is uncomfortable. Nobody likes it. I don't like it. I don't know about you guys.
No, we hate it. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
It sucks. And then just doing it and asking for help, and then it's like a weight off. You're like, I'm glad I did. It
is. And the more you do it, the more it just flows a lot, easier, faster.
Yeah, totally. It's like a muscle. You're working on it like anything else.
Right. You got to practice at it. And something that I try to keep in perspective, like for myself, because I'm terrible about asking for help. And then maybe somebody offers help and then I feel bad about taking the help. And there's like a whole shitstorm that happens.
Yes.
Right. I have to remind myself that I would do it for somebody else. So like, and it feels good to help people too. Right. So like even though you're scared to ask for help, it's not only helping you, it's helping the other person. And then it's opening that lines of communication that they can now come to you if they need you for something.
Right.
And it just creates this community. Everybody wants a community. Everybody wants a village. Like you got to make that shit.
Yes. Yes. You see that a lot, right? Like people want the village, but they're not necessarily like contributing to the village yet.
Yeah.
Right. Or the village comes and they're like, oh no, I can't take your help. Like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about this journal a little bit. I can only speak for myself. I'm somebody that has always struggled with journals or journaling. I have 1,000 of them. They each have, a couple of pages filled, and then you'll see a year later, there's a couple more pages filled. Tell us about 60 Days Away, because I've been learning a little bit more about it and I'm like, holy crap, I have to order this journal because it seems like it's so great for a beginner. Tell us about that.
I've been loving it. I've had it for 2 weeks and I have been consistent, but I'm a journaler too. Like Meg knows that about me. So,
okay, cool. Yeah. Like I said, I wanted to disrupt the wellness space and I wanted it to be in a way that was different, but good for beginners. And it's like, you're just starting out. You're going to feel safe. You're going to feel held. You're going to feel supported and have accountability. So it is for 60 days, obviously, and it's a guided journal. So it is not just blank pieces of paper. There are daily activations and prompts and questions. There's a weekly check-in. It's to kind of like answer your question. It's not something that I think is for everyone, and I am okay with that. So Megan, like you were saying, like that's okay. You haven't found one for you yet, and that's fine.
Right.
Like, and not everyone has to be a journaler. Not everyone has to do this or has to do this. You have to find what works for you. If that's something that's going to support you in your personal development journey, then like go for it. Great. but you have to just find what works for you. And maybe 60 days away isn't it, but you tried and it's fine, or you're going to, or whatever. I want to stress that because everyone's, especially now you're seeing like all of this like morning routine and it's all glamorized, but it's like, if that doesn't work for you, you're setting yourself up for failure. Or maybe the order is a little bit different. So maybe I wake up and I journal and then I go to the gym and I try that for a week and it's not working. So maybe then I go to the gym first and then I meditate and then like constant iteration, like I was saying earlier, even with journaling. So it's been a huge success just in a year. I mean, it's helping thousands of people, which makes me feel good. And I love hearing the feedback, positive or negative. It really just helps me to become a better person. And again, it's all about like inspiring people. And so I'm like, if you are not afraid of a couple cuss words, this is going to be for you. Let's go.
Yeah. That's what I think I love. Like my biggest thing with journaling is I never know what to do. And I've had a couple that have some prompts, but they're so open-ended. So that's what I love about what you're saying is like you have structure in this journal, and then you have wellness cards, right? That you can pair with it.
Yeah. So it's 60 days of a mindfulness card deck. And this is more of like your meant to be message for the day. So there's 3 categories. You can either receive a reminder, an affirmation, or a question. And these are also, they contain adult language also because that's just more fun. And they're really good because some of them will hit you and you're like, fuck, I needed that today. That's like the common thread of feedback that I get on the social media pages is like, I really needed this one today. And it meets you where you are. And then you can kind of take it and go from there.
I love that. That feels like such a great, easy way to start into something, right? Like you're newly into doing mindset work or whatever. Like, here's some cards. Keep it simple. Yeah. It takes 1 minute. Everybody's got 1 minute.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so awesome. Okay. So when this airs, it's going to be like the first week of February. And I like you're super type A, you are really great at setting goals and like creating plans around those goals, right? And I feel like the first week of January is when people really start to kind of fall off. Maybe you've made these big goals and you didn't set the structure in place and you're feeling overwhelmed or, whatever. What would you tell people that have hit February and they're like, oh shit?
Give yourself grace and get back on. Remind yourself why you're doing this in the first place. And sometimes that's not that reason, like why are you doing this in the first place, doesn't need to be intrinsically or about you. Who needs you to be your best self? Who needs you to show up for your best self? Because when you are working on your self-improvement or your personal development journey or whatever you want to call it, people will start to notice. And are they kids, your friends, your family? And then by doing that, you're also motivating them to become their best selves and to transform their lives. And that's a beautiful thing. So remember why you started. Everyone falls off the wagon. It is a part of life. Give yourself grace, get back on, and get to it.
That's awesome. We forgot to tell you this before we started, but Lauren's daughter's home. So if you see her wave, her arms are like, here's some squeaks in the background.
That's okay. That's totally fine.
The dog's barking. Like it's just chaos over here all the time, basically.
All good.
So going back to your energy, because like I said, I have been watching you on social media for a couple months now, and I absolutely love your energy. I love the confidence. I love when you like speak directly, to in your stories or whatever you want to say. But
thanks.
You're welcome. So you can tell though that you truly believe like in your product, you believe in like your journey, like all of that, right? Have you always had like this unwavering faith about your journey, yourself, like all of that, or unwavering confidence?
No. Okay. I was the worst, most like least confident person I feel out there. And it started, I have the first memory of it in high school because my entire background is singing and musical theater. And I used to sing the national anthem for sporting events at the high school. And we went to a huge school. And so the very first time I got up to do it, oh my God, worst performance of my life, because like I was holding the mic and you could physically see, like I'm shaking. I'm so nervous. I didn't have confidence at all. My mom was there and she's my biggest supporter I possibly have. And she talked to me after and she was like, just remind yourself when you're sitting on the bench waiting to go up, just say confidence, confidence. You are confident. And so, I mean, like literally like an Eminem song, I'm like, palms are sweaty. Like I am having a panic attack, but I'm like, confidence. And so that's always been something that like I really wanted to work on since I was in high school.
Okay.
And I know the next question is like, well, when did it, or how did you, and I don't know. I think if I had to guess, I think it's just constantly telling myself I am confident, even if I'm not. And then it sort of evolved. And now I'm like, I am confident. Listen to this. I went up on a fucking comedy show on Monday night and bombed, but I had the confidence to do it.
That's amazing.
It's terrifying to put yourself in these uncomfortable positions, but like, just do crazy shit. Life is short. Do what is going to bring you joy. And just the confidence, like for me to go up there in front of like, this is the #1 podcast, is millions of views when it comes out. It's terrifying. It's like, but I did it because I told myself, listen, I'm confident. And if I bomb, guess what? I had the balls to go up there and do it in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So now it's like, okay, on to the next thing. Cause like, you know what I mean? Like you did it. You feel like you bombed. You probably didn't. You probably did amazing. God,
no. We'll talk about it off air. I can't talk about it right
now. But I mean, it gives you, right, that courage to go after the next thing. Like that's probably, you know, another piece of it, right? Like you have done so many things and thrown yourself into like just, you know, uncertain or, you know, things that you didn't know about, whatever it may be. And that's really probably where, you know, things grew too. Right.
Yeah, you got through it and you didn't die.
I didn't. I felt like I was, but I'm alive and well.
I did see the story, but I wasn't sure what exactly happened. So I kind of figured it was that because I know you talked about that too on one of your podcasts.
I'm gonna keep it vague on Instagram, but we'll get into it after if you want to know.
I cannot wait to hear about it.
Yes, me too.
Oh shit. All right.
All right. So on this podcast, we love to give people the floor for a few minutes because this is your platform. You know, I know this isn't the first podcast, definitely not the last podcast that you're going to do, but like, say this is your one opportunity to share like whatever with the world. What would you say? What do you want everyone to know?
Oh my gosh.
Kind of making it easy.
I'm probably just going to hit the pivot topic for a second.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to do whatever you want. It is always up to us to like make our thoughts a reality. You can choose what thoughts you want to give power to. And I would say when it comes to pivoting, your brain automatically, I've been like nerding out a lot on neuroscience stuff. Your brain automatically looks for the bad. It just looks for the bad shit.
It's survival.
So, exactly. Yeah. We were bred this way. It's fucking primal. And so when you pivot, you automatically focus on the bad. Well, what if this? What if this? What if this? Well, what if you could just quiet those voices for a second and really listen to that inside voice and get in tune with whoever you really are? What's your why? What's your reason? And then say, okay, fuck you. I'm not giving those thoughts power. We're moving on and we're doing it. And just do it. If you fail, who cares? Nobody, we're harder on ourselves. And guess what? You might fail. Or at the beginning, especially for people listening to this podcast, if you are just starting a social media account, your first few videos are going to suck. They are not going to be great. You're going to look back at them a year from now and they're going to be horrible. It's better to come to terms with that right now and still do it anyway and say, guess what? I'm going to improve because I'm doing this for me. So however you need to find that motivation and turn it into discipline, do that. But do not do it because you're afraid. Like just do it in the face of adversity anyways. Just do it anyways. That's I'll end there. Just do it anyways. Yeah, Nike.
Yeah. So in the nerding out, we're talking about like, you know, neuroplasticity here, right? Like,
yes,
you live so many years of your life in a certain way. It takes practice. It takes like when you first do something, Your body's like, oh, we don't know this path. We've got our path in the forest that we always follow. And here's this new one. We've got our fucking machete and we're cutting shit down, right? It's a really messy path. And you have to take that path over and over and over again for your brain to finally be like, all right, we're not going to die when we do this. It's okay. And then it reroutes you. And then that other path starts to grow all the overgrowth. And it's not as present anymore, right? Those fears, that lack of confidence, but it all takes practice, just like with anything else.
Exactly. And that's why I started the very beginning of the journal. It's a gratitude section, because when you're practicing gratitude, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin into that reward center of your brain, which is the feel good shit. And it's going to improve your mood. It's going to help depression, anxiety, and all that bullshit that we don't want to feel. So when you're starting your day with gratitude and you do that consistently over time, right now, like scientists are saying anywhere from like 50 to 66 days to create a solid habit. You are rewiring your brain and you are creating new neural pathways to focus on the good instead of focusing on the bad. And when you can do that, you can do anything.
Yeah. I love that.
So good.
Yeah.
So the name of our podcast, as you know, is Shattering Ceilings. So we like to talk about, things in our life that we're breaking through. And we would love to know what ceilings that you're shattering right now in your own life.
Oh, that's so good. Oh shit. Okay. So like I said earlier, I'm currently getting ready to step into this like planning phase of how I want to show up on the internet. And I want to shatter this ceiling of like I want to become even more authentic. I think I do a really good job, but I don't want to just be performative and do a video because I know it's going to pop off or sell a journal. Like in the past, like a year ago when I first started, I was like, these are all the things you can have when you journal. Yeah, sure. But something doesn't sit right with me when I say that anymore. And so I know I have to shift. So I have to break through this old pattern and figure out a way to re-message myself, because it's not feeling 100% authentic anymore. I have a kick-ass product. I believe in it. It's changing thousands of lives. It's in media. It's being featured. Like it's really taking off. I'm really proud of it. But how I'm describing it sucks. And I'm aware of that. And so I need to kind of rework that messaging and make sure it's feeling really aligned, because people are going to pick up on it and they're going to be like, oh, it's not. And I want it to be, I need to figure out a way to say it verbally that reflects how I'm feeling inside. And it's going to take some time. So I'm sitting down with my husband this weekend and just doing a whole planning session, and just in every area of my life, like how's our business, how's our marriage, how's my business, how's our finances, right? Everything. And at that time, I'm going to focus on just breaking through these old patterns and figuring out new messaging and in a way that feels good to me. Because I think when you do that, you show up better, I think, for lack of better, like you just show up better. You show up just true online, and people can see that. And I want to keep inspiring, but I want it to make sense for me too.
Right. I love that you are thinking of things like that too. Like, again, you've experienced all the success with the product, and like, I think you show up authentic as hell online. So, like, I guess your standard is gotta be like up there, right? For you to be feeling this way. And I just think that the other thing is, like, it's really cool that you're on here, and obviously this is going to be a public podcast, right? Sharing that with people, like, you feel like you still have to rework things, and you're not afraid to say that, right? And I'm sure you're probably saying that on social media as well.
Yeah, and I think we forget that. We look at people like, oh God, look, they got it all figured out. And it's like, we're all crying in the shower at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So, it's so true. We're all human.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think just that statement alone really shows your authenticity and like the level of emphasis you put on staying true to yourself and true to all the people that are like investing in your product. Yeah. So I really appreciate that. Since my, opinion matters to you so much.
Oh, come on.
So like one random person, but really though, like, I think that's something to be celebrated, that you're not just riding on this success and like you have this niche and like what you're doing sells, rather than just being okay with that and continuing to do it, like being willing to look at yourself and, do that self-study. Like, is this is this how I want to show up in the world? And let that
Mhm.
standard continue to rise. So thank you for being such an awesome fucking human.
Yeah.
For anybody that's listening to this that wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
So they can find me on social media at Exploring Amanda, and then all the business is at 60 Days Away. And TikTok is just a better place for both of those things because I have more fun on that platform and I post a lot more with the brand. So find me on TikTok.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
We will put
yeah.
all of that in the show notes, you guys. So be on the lookout for it. And if you aren't following Amanda already, I highly recommend that you do so.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks again for coming on today. This was so much fun. And
Thanks,
I can't
guys.
wait to see, you reemerge with your new vision or your new messaging and see what that looks like.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we'll be watching.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.